All right. Welcome, 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 everybody. It is Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. Listen, I am so excited to be here, finally on the tail end of this cold. So hopefully I won't be coughing too much. You know how it do, people. You know how it do. So if you are new to me, this is Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Ayana Henderson. I am the generational change agent. And it is my job, it is my duty to help you accelerate your healing so that you can live a life that you're proud of. And therefore, you can help your children do the same. And so I just want to welcome you to Soul Care September. Amen, somebody. Amen, somebody. And so we have been doing a 4-part series called The Fruit of Soul Care. And so today we are actually on part 3 of this series, and we're talking about courage and capacity and what that has to do with healing your soul, right? And how that can actually help in an increase in these two specific. My mom used to say that, like she would say Pacific, and I used to be like, "Mom, it's specific, not Pacific. Like that's an ocean. The other one is like detailed." And so, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about these two particular fruits. And as always, I say I'm not going to be before you long. I just want to impart some wisdom on this Wednesday. Amen. So, just thank you so much for joining. If you are catching this on the replay, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to engage, be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to share, invite your friends to be able to watch this. So excited to continue doing this. I think we've been going for almost 2 years now. So, super excited to have you with me. And so I was recently talking to a friend, and one of the questions that she had asked me, she had just reached out and she sent sort of just this text, and it said, "How do I make myself a priority?" And I was like, "What?" And so, of course, I had to call and get more context because I need detail. I need to know exactly what prompted the question, what happened, what led to the circumstances, so that I could best adequately answer it. And so, what it kind of came down to were basically these two things that we're actually going to talk about today. So I thought it was fitting to share that question because it was something that she was trying to figure out: how do I make myself a priority? And so what it boiled down to were these two things: courage and capacity. And so one of the things that I had shared with her was that oftentimes when we are working through healing some emotional wounds, healing some past trauma, healing some of the things that we're actually dealing with or dealt with, or some of the blows of life that happen, as we start to heal those things, one of the things, I'm just going to grab my water. One of the things that we actually first do is develop our language enough to be able to stand on who we say we are or who we say we desire to be, right? And that in and of itself takes courage. But then there's a piece where maybe the first time you're breaking this people pleasing pattern, for example, and you're always out there doing things for others, you're always out there doing things that will really help people, just act differently. Like you don't want to always be working, or excuse me, do I'm trying to multitask with the lives and just making sure I'm capturing all the comments. I apologize. And so one of the things, when you're people pleasing, is that you're always looking to please other people. So for the first time, when you stand up for yourself and you actually have to say no, it feels selfish. It feels like you're doing something wrong. It feels like you're going against the grain. And so it's one thing to be able to say no to somebody, but it's another thing to stand in that no when they start trying to challenge this new you, right? And that takes capacity. So when you are in the process of healing, and it doesn't matter if it's like the emotional wounds, or maybe there was something that happened to you, but when you're in this process of healing anything, you're developing two things. You're developing a courage to actually be the person that you desire to be, but then you're also increasing your capacity to carry out who that's going to be, right? And so courage allows you to stand on our answers, but the capacity is there for you to back it up. And so that's why this is now fruits number 3 and 4 of soul care, right? And so with courage is the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face a difficulty, a danger, or pain, etc. without fear, and with bravery, right? So it's also to endure, to be bold, and to be firm. So when we'll take people pleasing as the thing that you are fighting or wanting to change, right? So when you're dealing with that, one of the things to offset people pleasing is to assert yourself, not become aggressive, but take into consideration the things that you value, the things that are important to you. And so when you start looking at those things and you now start standing on a new truth that this person may not have been used to, it's going to feel for you very, very different. You're going to feel like you're violating yourself. You're going to feel like you're being mean. You're just going to want to be understood. You're just going to want to be heard. And so, what you'll do when you don't have the capacity built up is you will start over explaining. You will start trying to answer all of the questions that you think this person is forming in their mind as a result of giving them an answer that they weren't prepared for, right? So, with capacity, this is the ability to receive or contain, right? So, if I say no, I need to contain that no. The no is just the surface. Everything below it is going to have to support this no. And that's where your values and your boundaries and things like that come in. It's the actual or potential ability to perform, yield, or withstand, right? And so it's super important to note that when you're exercising this newfound quality of mind, right? If we go back to the definition of courage, because that's kind of the key part. What you're doing when you're healing your soul is you're also increasing the quality of the thoughts, the quality of your beliefs, the quality of your values, the quality of your boundaries, the quality of your emotions. And you're doing that because you're developing new language as a result of some of the things that you've dealt with, because now you have an understanding of what actually happened. That was a mouthful. So when you're healing, you increase or develop an understanding of what's happening. And because you've developed this understanding, that understanding has now given you language, and that language increases the quality of what you perceive, of your perspective, of your thoughts, of your beliefs, and of your emotions, because now you're not filtering them through your emotional wounds. Now you're filtering them through understanding what has happened, the truth of what has happened. And so, as a benefactor, this develops and increases your capacity to withstand. So, one of the things that I was sharing with her is how I was so quick to get angry, like, and yell and scream and do all these things. And then I told her one of the things that I had to do was I had to ask her, is this worth going to battle for? That was one of the ways that I had to transform my wounded soul and responding angrily or sarcastically to a more healed version of me and the woman I desired to be, which was one that wasn't just arguing and yelling all the time. I had to decide, is everything worth going to battle for? And prior, in previous years, it was. Everything was worth going to battle for. And then when I started to really reflect, even trying to do it in the moment, there were certain things that I'm going to stand on it. I can have a conversation about it, but I'm not going to do it right now because it's not worth me going to battle for. It's not worth me yelling. It's not worth me violating my boundaries. It's not worth me getting angry. And it doesn't mean that it's not important. It just means I'm choosing to show up differently. And that's going to be a different experience for people who've only really known me to kind of be explosive. It's just going to seem different. And so, the situation that she was experiencing, where she was actually saying no, it felt like she was harming someone. And so, what she didn't have is the capacity to be able to stand in the no, to stand in it without over explaining, without, understanding that there's going to be some hurt feelings, but you're doing the best that you can and you're being responsible for the way in which you're handling the situation, right? And so that is why a healed soul delivers or creates or bears the fruit of courage and capacity, right? With soul care, it cultivates your courage, right? Your quality of mind to say, to, sorry, that should say to do and experience hard things. So when you're caring for your soul, you now are nurturing, you're now loving yourself from an internal place that allows you to say things differently, and not fall into the traps of people pleasing or anger or sarcasm. Or like domination or control, or any of those behaviors that develop as a result of being wounded. What it does is, when you start loving on yourself, and it's just like if you were on a weight loss journey, right, and you went to the gym, and you're going there, you're out of shape, you can't work out as long, but as you start to nurture that, as you build consistency, as you start going, you find that not only is the new way more beneficial, but you'll also start attracting the body, that the physique that you'll start manifesting the physique that you actually like. And in relationships, you'll start attracting people into your life that are more aligned with where you are, like they can actually see you for you. So one of the things I was explaining to her was that the reason why her and our friendship has sustained for as long as it has is because I don't see the ill intent, because I've gotten to know her. I've gotten to understand her, right? So if there was something that she was going to do, that I asked her to, and she no longer could, I'm not going to perceive it as ill intent. Even if I feel like, oh man, I'm not going to feel angry or disappointed, because the quality of our relationship has been cultivated through, right relationship, being in right relationship, and being respectful of each other, understanding, meeting each other with, this level of understanding, this support, this care, there's concern, right? There's a knowing that we have. And so, I'm not going to burst out and be angry. Of course, there's, clear cut violation, but, not being able to attend certain things or do certain things, I'm not going to really hold it against her, hold a grudge, not talk, not do all these things. Now, if I'm operating in this wounded soul, I'm absolutely going to hold a grudge. I'm going to be passive aggressive. I'm not going to say really how I feel. I'm going to be very vague, but I'm also going to be very curt, very nasty, very to the point, and I'm not going to really engage like that. And so when you're wounded in that space, you don't really see sort of the person or the relationship for what it is. And so that's why soul care will cultivate your courage. It will enhance the quality of your mind, therefore enhancing the way that you see people, the way that you engage people, the way that you do relationships with people, and the way that you actually respond and react to life and to people in general, right? Soul care also increases your ability for competence, efficiency, and the skill to endure hard things. This is your capacity, right? So now the capacity part of when I'm asking myself, if I'm in a situation where now I feel emotionally compromised, or I feel my own anger starting to rise, part of the capacity piece is being able to ask myself, Ayana, do you want to go to battle for this right now? Is it worth you going to battle? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to go to battle for it. But I'm going to do it in a way where I know that I can stand on whatever it is that I believe that I want to go to battle for. If it's not worth me going to battle right in that moment, but it is still worth me going to battle for, I can step back. I can try to find a resolve for that moment, and then I can work to collect myself. And then I know that if I know that I really can't engage, then I know I have language to say, now is not a good time. And I can collect myself and then come back. And that's the key point, is coming back to it to have the, whatever it is, the discussion or whatever it is, right? And so it goes back to her question, which was, how do I make myself a priority? And so I was explaining that it's really operating in this space of knowing where you are in the moments that you're in them, especially in the moments that you feel compromised. So, in the moments that you feel mentally compromised, you feel emotionally compromised, physically compromised, spiritually compromised, financially compromised, like in any moment where you feel some sort of compromise happening within you, right? That's where you can then use the capacity from healing to be able to ask yourself questions on whether or not it's worth going to the wall for. Am I willing to fight for this? Am I willing, is it worth the argument? Is it worth me yelling? Is it worth me, coming out of my character? And if it's not, then you start to implement things in place to help you get to a reset where you can now start to think logically versus emotionally so that you can still address the issue head on, but you're not also people pleasing. You're not over explaining yourself. You're not trying to make the other person feel good about how you feel. You're not trying to shrink yourself or shrink your voice. You're not saying the hard things, right? You're actually taking time to be able to say the hard things because you know they need to be said, but you also recognize you don't have to yell and scream to actually do it. So I had written a post the other day about when we say, things like, oh, I let my anger get the best of me, or I let my I let so and so get the best of me, or and it's always used in a negative way, right? And so I thought about that, like, why would I let my anger get the best parts of me, right? Why would I let my anger get my voice? Why would I let my anger take my mind? Why would I let my anger steal my joy, right? And they say the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? And so killing my voice, right? Stealing my thoughts, and then destroying my joy, like taking my joy away. So why would I let these best parts of me, why would I let them get the best of me? Why would I let my anger get my voice, my thoughts, right? My behavior, my action? Why would I let my lust get those things as well? Why would I let certain people get those things from me as well, right? Those are the best parts of me. Those are the best parts of me. And so when she was asking this question about how do I make myself a priority? Well, what are some of the best parts of you that you don't want to give to negative, I say it cliche, negative energy? That's part of making yourself a priority. You're letting certain things get the best of you. But when you're operating in soul care, you're letting the best of you get the best of you. You're letting the best things get the best parts of you, right? And it could be people, it could be places, it could be things, it could be feelings, it could be thoughts, but they should get the best, not these negative emotions and negative pains, right? And so a wounded soul can't handle the weight of the world, but a healed soul harmonizes the good and bad of life. And it doesn't mean that the bad isn't going to happen, but a healed soul can look at a bad situation, take a step back, and come back and still try to engage and connect and do these things because it's finding the harmony. It's not doing this thing with balance where it's you have to take one thing off and then you have to take something else off and then you have to add something back on and then you have to add something else back on, right? That whole teetering act, that's exhausting. That's absolutely exhausting, right? And so I just wanted to remind her, but also share with you guys that when you are operating in soul care, not self care, right? We're not talking about meditation. We're not talking about yoga. We're not talking about, treating yourself to, a snack or some sort of beauty treatment. We're not talking about, going to see a movie or any of those things. They're all good. And I'm not shaming them. I'm not judging them at all, but they are temporary fixes for where you are, unless you know that it's going to impact you more deeply than just making you feel good beyond the 15 minutes after you've gotten that thing done, right? um, and a lot of you have posted about The Woman King and how transformational that movie has been. That's an example where it can be soul care because it is transforming, it's increasing the quality of your mind, right? Because of, some of the things that are in the movie that you guys have written about. So, that can be, but knowing um, that a healed soul does increase both your courage and capacity. And that is exactly how it bears fruit. Um, when you're healing your soul. So I'm always encouraging you to practice soul care, continue to practice self-care, but they are two different things. And so if this is an opportunity right now where I'd love to invite all the ladies who are watching this to join the Warrior Womanhood community, inside the community. So this is a small announcement. We are now going to be starting in October. We will be transferring the Warrior Wisdom Wednesdays to inside the community only. And so we're doing this because, it really is built for them. It really is meant for them. And it doesn't mean that you won't see me go live, but Warrior Wisdom Wednesday are for the warriors in the community. So it's a free community. You just have to answer a couple of questions to be able to join. Let me put the link up on the screen. And then I'll go ahead and put this link in the chat so that you can go ahead and connect. I would love to have you there. Please just come and join. Again, starting in October, we're going to be shifting to the Warrior Lives being inside of this community. There's over 350 women already inside of this community, so it is not new. So you will get in there. We'll start Testimony Tuesdays and then Space and Grace Sundays. So super excited to be having sort of this relaunch within this group. So definitely be sure you go ahead and check out that community. And so just to recap quickly, today we talked about the fruit of soul care, we talked about courage, and we talked about capacity, and how having how going through your soul care journey to heal any type of emotional trauma can lead to an increased courage and increased capacity. But you will need both in order to stand on the new person that you're becoming. And so soul care cultivates your courage, which is your quality of mind, and that allows you to say, to do, and to experience the hard things. And then soul care increases your ability of competence, efficiency, excuse me, and skill to endure the hard things, right? So one allows you to actually do the hard thing, and another allows you to be able to stand on it and withstand anything that comes against it. And so just to remind you, a wounded soul can't handle the weight of the world, but a healed soul harmonizes the good and the bad of life. So you guys, this has been Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. I told you I would not be before you long. I encourage you to join the Warrior Womanhood community. You'll just fill out a couple of questions. The link is now in the chat, but I'll put it up here for you as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today. I look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday, where we will end with part 4 of this series with conviction and contentment as it relates to soul care. So thank you so much for tuning in. For those that's watching the replay, be sure to engage. Just let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. And until next week, I will take care. You take care as well. All right. Thank you. I'll see you guys later.